Okay, and welcome back. We're going to be doing a big test here on these clear coats. This is the Minwax Polycrylic water-based clear coat. I've got it in the two different types, both in, the regular can where you paint with a brush and the spray can. And that's pretty expensive stuff. I think it was like $10 for each, possibly $15 for the big can. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be putting it on I've got all these spoons, all this plasticware left over from a bunch of paint tests that I did, so that we can test a lot of things at once. Let me go over these one at a time. This one here, that's the Rust-Oleum 2X clear gloss black. And over here, this is the Ace polished aluminum, which comes out like chrome. And this is the Rust-Oleum 2X orange. And right here we're doing a special test. I put some decals on there to see how it's going to react to decals. And so we'll be dipping one and we'll be spraying one just to see what happens. Over here, this is the Molotow Belton paint, which we discovered during that test as kind of a semi-gloss or satin. And then over here, this is the Krylon chalky gray, and just to see what it does, I'm curious. And then the latest one was the stainless steel. And I've got the spoon that I had primed first that came out nice. And if you don't prime, it becomes a disaster. And then I have the other one where I brushed it to try to get the look of brushed stainless steel. And we're gonna clear coat them today to see what happens with this clear coat. My hopes are that this is the type of a clear coat that doesn't react to paints such as silvers and chromes, because normally if you were to spray, like a regular lacquer on chrome, it would turn it gray, and it would turn the silver gray, and all your shininess goes away. So I'm hoping that it doesn't do that. Anyway, let me get the test set up here. Rather than brushing them on, I'm just going to dip these into the can there and see what happens, and then I'll set up the rest of them on a board to spray them. Okay, so here we go. This is how I have them separated. I'm going to be dipping all these spoons into the polycrylic right here, and they said on the label that it was going to be white. Goes on white and dries clear, and they said to stir it without shaking it so there's no bubbles, and to continually stir it as you're using it, but it doesn't really apply, because I'm just going to dip them all rapid fire and set them back on the cardboard and let them dry. And then I'll go these are the ones I'm going to use the spray can on. So let's get started. Okay, here's a quick look at them right after I did it. Of course, this stuff is still wet. I'm just looking for reactions. Right off the bat, I forgot to explain that the chrome, I had rushed the job, and it had a orange peel on the black undercoat, as you can see here. So the orange peel effect is not being caused by the polycrylic; it was already there. So we're just looking for reactions to luster. And of course this isn't dry yet, so we don't know yet. But this is what it looks like so far. Nothing's like bubbling up or reacting super bad. And in fact, I'm waiting to see how quickly it dries, because I may put a second, I may dip it again, may put a second dip coat on these. In the meantime, I will go take this panel and spray all these, so I'll be right back. Okay, so here's how they look immediately after painting. Let me try to get over here, I guess. That's of course not in the sunlight, so. And I put on a heavy coat mainly because I don't know what I'm doing and I'm just kind of guessing. It doesn't seem to be lifting the decals or reacting to paint or anything. Still unknown what it's really doing to that because of the white finish it's got, but pretty nice. Looks good so far. So let's go back to the other ones that were dipped. Get a better look at that one. Yeah, not reacting to that either. And I guess that was the one, I think that was the one that I sanded to make it look like brushed stainless steel. Anyway, we'll come back to this. Let's see how the other ones are doing. Okay, here is the dipped plasticware. It has been about 15 minutes, and as you can see, we still have it where it pooled. It's still not clear, but wow, it's putting a nice clear shine on there. I don't think it's not reacting too much to the chrome. I'm going to have to really look back at the footage and see what that looked like in the beginning. But not reacting to the decal. And this was dipped. The satin finish, it looks like it made it glossy. And just now realizing I don't have a chalky finish plasticware that I dipped. So, but what I'm going to do is put a second dip on these. As soon as these pooled areas actually become clear, I'm going to dip it again just to see what happens. And at that point, I will get one of those gray chalky finish spoons and see what happens with that in there. Okay, for reference sake, this is the chalky finish spoon. This is a good look at what it looks like ahead of time, and then we'll look at it again after it's dipped. Alright, and there they are after the second dip. And I'm going to go like right here on the fork where it pooled up at the joint, right there. I'm going to leave that there. On the first coat, I let it run off, but this time I let it pool because I just want to see if it'll wrinkle or something. Being that deep, I want to know what it's going to do. So we're going to take another look at that. And so there it is, second coat. You know, we got this decal swimming in this stuff and it's not lifting, so that's pretty good. That's a good sign. And then there's the one that was definitely a chalky, like a flat, like a primer. And we will see if that makes it glossy. This is looking pretty good. This stuff comes in 3 varieties: matte, gloss, and semi-gloss. So I suppose you can make a glossy surface flat. If I don't know why you would want to. Anyway, let's go look at the ones that we sprayed and see how they're doing. Okay, here they are. This has been about 15 minutes since I sprayed them, maybe 20. And I am liking how thick it is. I just hope it's a hard shell, because if it's not hard, then you know, what's the point? The idea is to seal it to the point where you can handle this stuff. And there is the chalky finish, the flat finish, like a primer. Seems to be kind of semi-gloss at this point. And this one was semi-gloss and is now a gloss. There's a look at that. This particular one, this was not a good paint job, if I remember. So I think we're going to go with a second coat on all of these, and I'm going to try to fill this one up and see if I make it smooth. And then there's the one with the chrome. You know, maybe it is dulling it out a little bit. I did a test on the future floor wax one time, and I remember it changing the iridescence just about this much. Honestly, I'm starting to think this is future in a spray can. It might be. Anyway, I'm going to put a second coat on this, another thick coat, just to see how bad can get. So let's do that. Okay, here we go. I have sprayed them again, and I actually sprayed it a little thicker this time than the first coat. And so we're, you know, here's a look at, I mean, it's wet. It is super wet. And, okay, so on this one, this is the one that had a kind of an uneven coat on it. I think the paint itself, the orange paint, I had painted it poorly. And so I filled it up with this stuff just to see if that would kind of level it out. And then I filled up the handle. I couldn't resist because it's got that pattern there, like that. And I wanted to see what happens if you fill it up. Is it going to wrinkle as it dries? We will find out. And unfortunately, I do think it is dulling out the chrome, and that is a shame. We will find out when that dries. And the gloss black is just going to be ridiculously glossy. Now this stuff, you know, be careful if you're spraying stuff like this, because it acts like a glue. And this stuff, when I was trying to re-dip the other stuff, I was barely able to get it off the cardboard. So if you're spraying a model, make sure that all the touch points, how you have it mounted to paint, can come off easily in a good way. Otherwise, it ain't coming off. This stuff, it smells like Elmer's glue or Mod Podge, although I hope it's harder than those things. It's another thing we'll find out. So let's let this dry for a little while and come back. Okay, so it has been about 20 minutes since I did both of these, and let's take a closer look and see how they're drying. Now it says on it says ultra fast drying, and I think that if it was a kind of a thinner coat, that this stuff would be drying super fast, but of course, I mean, I dipped these. Speaking of which, here's a look at that fork where I let it pool up, and hopefully you're seeing, because I can't see my viewfinder, that it does seem to want to crack a little bit as it dries. I don't know if it's showing it, but it shows up more on this one. Look at this. I hope you're seeing that. I mean, obviously, dipping isn't the way to go, because I mean, there's like, look at that, too thick, too blotchy. I think that it would be a good idea to let it run off like I did on the first coat, and so you don't have anything pulled up. So like if it was this thick on this knife, you pick the whole thing up and let it drip off the end. And oh, hold on a second, let me go get another spoon. Okay, I needed to show this. This is a direct comparison on clear coated versus not clear coated, and as you can see, it did dull it out a bit, and that's just a shame. It seems to be impossible to get any kind of clear coat to work on this stuff, but definitely much shinier before the clear coat. So it is not the miracle clear coat for chrome, but it does seem to be kind of the miracle. Like over here on the silvers, it left them exactly the same shade of silver that they were. This was stainless steel, so I would feel safe spraying it on a lighter silver. I think it would work fine. And here it does take flat paint and make it glossy. That's neat. But now over here on the stuff that I sprayed, the spray comes out much better, even in the areas where I filled it up. Let me try to find the right angle here. This is the one, you remember, I just filled this sucker up. And there is a look at how it came out. And the handle is actually still drying, but it seems to be fine. See that? Not all blotchy or cracked. Awesome. And the other one, this was also a pretty poor paint job. After the second coat, looking pretty good. And same thing with the chrome on the spray. Pretty much the same. Let me go get that other spoon. There we go. There's the direct comparison. Not bad, but about what Future did. Honestly, guys, I think this is Future. I think that the polycrylic, whatever this stuff is exactly probably what Future is. But, you know, here we got Future in a spray can. So there's a look at the gloss black, is even glossier black. And what was the other one? Oh yeah, in the spray. The satin is now a gloss, and the flat is now a gloss. And here is the one that was brushed. Brushed stainless steel paint. Well, stainless steel paint that I sanded to try to make it look like it was brushed. And the clear coat, from what I'm seeing here, seems to have made it kind of evened it out, so you can't see the lines. So that's either good or bad. Bad if you want it to look like brushed. But I am just reporting what it did. That is, you know, that is roughly it. But what I'm going to do on the last segment here, I'm going to let all this stuff dry for a few days, just to make sure it's completely dry, and then I'll do some kind of scratch tests. I'll leave everything on the cardboard that they're on, and we'll just let them dry. And I'll be right back, and we'll scratch them. Okay, so here we go. It has been 3 days, so all of this is nice and cured, and now we can take a look at it and see how it's going to completely look once it's completely done and completely dry. So let's start over here by the sprayed parts. If you remember, this is the fork that was brushed. This was the one that looked pretty darn good when it was brushed. And from what I see here, the polycrylic kind of fills in all those scratch marks. And so if you brushed it beforehand, it's gone. But you know, maybe you can brush this finish. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I'll explain in a minute. So this is the way this one comes out, and I've put some comparisons on here to show what they originally looked like. This is that Belton satin paint, and as you can see, what it changes it to is gloss, and that's pretty neat. And then this is the chalky finish paint. Let me jump over to the other side, because I do that, I'll bring the thing over. So here it is. Here is a look at the way that started and the way it turns out with the spray. Moving over to the one with the decals, I may have to come around to the other side. But this is the one where we filled it up, and I'm trying to get the right angle so you can see. But it was not a good idea to fill it up, because that ruins the way it's trying to work, especially like if you look down here on the handle. It is not even actually clear after 3 days, and I think it's completely dried, and it's not going to be clear. So the idea that you can fill up an area is not real. It's not going to work. So ultimately, it's a really good idea not to put it on as thick as I did. On some pieces, it worked pretty good, like places like this one where it was able to run off. But okay, so the chrome, this is the way it dried. This is what you're going to get. It will dull it out a little bit. But for a gloss finish, just putting another sealer on top of a gloss finish, like if you were going to be sealing in decals, it's dynamite. And this was all in the spray. Now, I think that I can show, if I look at the right angle on a lot of these, you can see that they're a little bit speckled. And that is not something that you want. You want it to be nice and smooth. But over in the ones that you dipped, let's come over to there now and take a look. So I'll bring that same knife over so you can see the difference there. On a part where it's able to run off, it looks really, really good, especially these ones right here. This is that stainless steel paint. This is the one that was just painted, and then this is the one that was painted and brushed. And they look very close to each other. It fills in all the little scrapes. Really pretty neat. And then this one here is the one where I filled in the curve there where it collects. And this is the way it finalizes. Trying to show all kind of different angles. Maybe you can see what it did. But it does kind of come apart there. And just as a comparison's sake, this is the way the stainless steel started and the way it turns out. And then there's that one again. Again, a part where it runs off nice. Looks fantastic. The worst thing that can happen is you can let it pool. Here's an example of that. When you let it really pool up, especially on the on this type, the brush paint is a bit thicker. And you let that pool up, this is what's going to happen when it dries. That's a pretty good disaster. But if you were able to let it run off, like right over here, look at this dip piece. Looks absolutely perfect. And then the same thing happened with the chrome piece on the brush paint. So ultimately, you may be wondering which one is going to be the best one. And unfortunately, I didn't show what was going to be the best one because I think this is going to be the better of the two, but not dipped. If you were to use a brush, a thick, soft brush that's kind of big, is going to have the best result because then you're going to be able to really control what you're doing. Don't let it pool up, and it will come out fantastic, I think. But the spray is obviously a little bit of a different formula, and you're going to have to develop a kind of a touch with that. I think it's going to be the type of thing where you need to put a few coats on it. And it's all kind of unknown because, of course, this stuff is for wood. And so using it for plastic parts is kind of new territory, and I'll figure it all out. But I think it's going to be a number of lighter coats like I did with this fork, as opposed to the heavy coat there. So I'll get the hang of that, but I think that if you want to get it right on the first try, is use this one, but use a brush. And don't let it pool up, let it drain. And you will probably get a fantastic finish. Anyway, this stuff is so good that I'm going to continue to test with it. I'm going to get some model car bodies, and we're going to do specific tests for model car bodies and model car finishes. I'll go look for a few dud bodies and paint them in a few different colors, and then we will apply this with the brush to all of them and see how it comes out. So that'll be sooner or later. Thanks for watching, everybody, and stay tuned for more. Oh yeah, I forgot one of the main things I was going to do. I was going to show the hardness. Let's go to this area where it pooled up really bad. I'm just using a flat blade screwdriver, and you can see, let me zoom in a little bit here, that this stuff is at least out in the sun, and it's similar in the dark. When it's this thick, it's really rubbery. It's a bit softer because it's out in the sun, but not by much. It kind of does this in the house too. But as for a scratch test, I haven't done that yet. Let's do it on this one. Okay, here we go. Oops, and I wasn't even on it. Okay, here we go. Alright, what did we get? It's pretty good. it resisted pretty good. I mean, obviously you can see something, but it didn't gouge in there. So let me try to gouge it harder. Oh yeah, I mean you can do it, but you're not going to accidentally screw it all up, really. So that's a look at the hardness, and now back to what I was doing.